we go. We got still working through some of these guys getting through the training room, but Colston's still a little bit of to be determined there. We'll see how he's doing tomorrow and going into Wednesday as well. But it doesn't seem like anything super serious, but we'll see what that looks like. I thought the guys responded really well. It was really nice to get that first win of the season. We're looking to piggyback on that performance here and go for our first road win here this week. We're road underdogs already. I think Vegas has picked to beat us, so we got to come out and have another great week of preparation, and I'll go ahead and open it up from there.
And on the drive to end the first half yesterday, from a coach's perspective, what did you admire the most about how that entire sequence kind of unfolded?
Yeah, no, we actually watched that part as a team, just because it was really good complementary football. We got our defense out there with about 4 minutes left in the first half, and they came through with a 3-and-out for us, gave us plenty of time on offense, to where we didn't even feel like we're in 2-minute mode until it really got underneath about a minute left there. And so we were able to, I thought the biggest one was the 3rd and 2 conversion that we ended up throwing the ball to Rome. Caleb did a nice job getting that ball out, but had we not converted that would put us in a little bit of a tough spot, because they still had some timeouts left. And like I said all along, it's a very dynamic offense that we were going against. And so our goal was to score points going into halftime and not give them enough time for a rebuttal drive. And I thought our guys handled that really well.
When you've got the clock on your side and you've got all 3 timeouts, how do you kind of balance being kind of cautious initially versus knowing when to put the foot on the gas and hit it like
that's the hard part. Yeah. And that's for me. I'd say earlier in my career, I really struggled at that, as a play caller, and it's something that you kind of got to sink into what your guys do well. Being able to run the ball certainly helps in that situation, where you can feel like you can be efficient moving the ball, keep the clock running, know when to put the foot on the pedal and go up tempo when we need it. Having those timeouts helps us. It gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of the play calls, because we don't have to be straight drop back pass oriented. We can mix things up, knowing that we can always stop the clock if it gets a little bit too close. And then I thought the other thing that was huge in any 2-minute, if you get an explosive play, then that really ups your odds of getting points. And so that throw that Caleb made to Luther was really big for us to get us from field goal range down in there to scoring range for a touchdown. So I just give our guys a lot of credit. They handled the situation well. Caleb controlled the procedure really well, and being able to score with under 30 seconds like that, and our defense come back out on the field and hold them. If you remember that first game, we were in a very similar scenario where Minnesota had about 18 seconds and no timeouts, and they were able to get a field goal out of it. And so it was almost deja vu being in that same deal, and our defense being able to get the stop and go into halftime.
We're still getting to know you, but I imagine you took great pleasure in that 19-play drive with the 11 straight runs.
Yeah, I didn't even know. Like, I'm serious. In the moment, I didn't know it was 19 plays, and I didn't know there was 11 runs in a row. That was something that I found out after the game, and I kind of alluded to it a couple times as we did that long drive drill over the course of training camp, where you guys were probably watching. You're like, oh my gosh, this is sloppy football to end practice. But really, there was a intent behind it that went against maybe the execution, and more about the grit and the grind that goes into some of these games, getting our conditioning level up. And so the guys dug deep for that. I know that our guys were feeling it, but there's something about when you look across the ball and you see, the opposition equally fatigued, that brings out that competitive spirit, and you want to finish that drive with points. And so the runs, I think they were efficient for the most part. That helps me stay on track and call more of them. Yeah, I thought that was a really good drive. I thought the way the game went in the first half was Dallas really controlled the time of possession and the number of plays. And so to see us come out after halftime and our offense respond with a drive like that did wonders for our defense. And not to mention the first 2 games, our drives out of halftime have been 2 3-and-outs. So I think we upped the average there for our plays out of halftime there.
I read somewhere that Belichick said once that you don't really know the identity of your team till mid-October-ish. Do you think that drive could be some indication of the team you guys are trying to become in terms of developing your own identity?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes a long way. We'll do whatever it takes to score points. I think that's what it comes down to. I don't, to me, I don't care if it's a one play drive or a 19 play drive, you know, as long as we're scoring points at the end of it, that's the number one goal. And so, um, I think it just goes to show we can do whatever we need to do in that moment to score. You know, we were very explosive there in the first half. We kind of dried up a little bit there in the second half in terms of explosives, and that's what we needed. We needed a long drive to be able to score those points, and guys came through for us.
How much did Tyrique's play set the tone, would you say, for the defense? And then what impressed you most about the way they closed the game? I don't ever remember a team getting 3 straight interceptions on to close the game.
Yeah, no, I all those turnovers were massive. You know, that's the first series that Tyrique came through and got that ball out. It was going to be an explosive run, and talk about giving us a lot of life and a lot of juice right there. We didn't start the game offensively like we wanted to, and so defense, second play, they're able to get a turnover. It breathes a lot of life into us in that game, and it gives us some confidence. And I think the best thing about it was the complementary nature of that football game where, all right, that happens, and then the offense goes back out there and scores a touchdown. I thought there was a lot of piggybacking like that throughout that game that we really needed.
I have a quarterbacking question for you. You were talking last week about Dak Prescott, and you were raving about specifically the way he uses his eyes to manipulate the defense. And I wondered when you were saying that if you were kind of indirectly talking to Caleb too. My question is that something you have been working with him on? And did you see any of that materialize in the game where Caleb was using his eyes to create?
Yeah, I don't use the media a whole lot to talk indirectly to the players. I talk to Caleb directly, and yeah, that is something that we've talked about is how do we
Talked
use
to him
our
directly
eyes.
about Dak last week?
No, I don't think we talked about, no, we were focused solely on how do we attack that particular defense. So that's all we really were worried about. But no, he's doing a much better job getting us in and out of the huddle. I said that last night. I thought we weren't as pressed on the shot clock as maybe what we had been the first 2 games. We still have some room for improvement just in terms of our alignments and all being on the same page. I think that there are a few plays we would want back just as an entire unit that we didn't quite get off as clean as we wanted to from a procedure standpoint, but I do see growth there. And then in terms of the execution, he's getting a lot better, a lot more comfortable with his footwork. It's repetitions, you know, not just for the concepts that we've been doing from the springtime to training camp, but also we're putting in new ones each week. And so he's got a good system in place right now that he's adhering to, and it's showing up on game day to where we're starting to reap some of the rewards from that.
And this is one of Caleb's better games of his career from the pocket. I know you've talked during the offseason about coaching him to play within structure. How have you seen him adhere to that, and then the results of it yesterday? What were your
Yeah, well, when the offensive line protects like that, it's a lot easier to play from the pocket. I thought 0 sacks. We had a very clean pocket for the most part. That's a starting point, and so he's got the ability to escape and extend and all that. But man, if we can keep him in there, our playmakers are some dynamic route runners that we can get the ball to him in space, and so. I think he saw when he plays on time, he's trusting the hitches within his drops, and we can be an explosive offense that way. So there's a lot of ways that Caleb Williams can hurt you, and like I said, when we have pass protection like we had yesterday, that certainly helps.
How interesting has it been for you as an offensive play caller to have this new factor, at least in your career, I believe, of his mobility and what that can create as far as uncertainty in a defense when he's passing?
Yeah, it's fun. I think I don't have to be perfect as a play caller, you know, and I've always tried to be that to where you get the primary receiver open the majority of the time, and that's I don't feel that necessity anymore. You know, it's just he has a way of if number one's open, he'll take it, and we're getting to where he's progressing to 2 and 3. But if we need to escape or extend that, yeah, I mean it's his natural playmaking, and that's the balance that we want to strike, and that changes every week what that balance looks like. But I think we're really finding out a lot about each other because he's learning what my expectation is as well. But I think he's doing a good job understanding when it breaks down a little bit what he can do to ad lib.
And
I'm sure there's
you've
a
talked-
lot of
You've talked
reasons.
a couple times about the potential that you see in Tyrique Stevenson. What have you learned in your time around him about his passion and getting him to use that to fuel his ascent as a player?
I mean, he's always been a super talented player. There's a reason why he was drafted high. I think a number of teams really liked him coming out of college, and it's really just been a consistency issue with him. You know, it's there are times where he looks like a Pro Bowl type player, and there's other times where he'll let his guard down just a little bit, and we can't have those snafus. But I thought yesterday he took a step in the right direction. He strung together more good plays than what he had so far this season, and I think it's a great opportunity for him to build on going from week 3 into week 4.
Ben, is Jalen gonna have surgery?
I believe so. Yeah.
Is there a world where he can return this year or no?
Yes, there is.
What did you think of Braxton? What did you
Is
think
there,
of Braxton's game like yesterday?
Say it again.
What did you think of Braxton's performance yesterday?
Braxton, very, very encouraged with the direction that we're going. There's still some work to be done, but I think I lump the whole offensive line together when I look at our rushing statistics. I think we only averaged about 3 yards a rush. We left a lot of meat on the bone there. I give a lot of credit. That is a good front. I mean, particularly those interior players are really good players that have played at a high level in this league for a long time. We knew that. We knew we were going to have our hands full. But yet we didn't run the ball as effectively as we're capable of doing. So I think it starts there. Certainly he plays a part in that, but he's also a part of the 0 sacks given up in terms of pass pro. So there's a lot of good, and there's a lot that we got to continue to clean up.
And with Jalen, has that been determined that he actually is gonna have the surgery, or is there still some weighing of the options there?
Yeah, my last understanding was that there was going to be the surgery. Thank you.